Tonight, Quebec mobilizes an army of hydro workers to power up from a devastating storm.
I thought a bomb went off. For a second, I thought it was even an earthquake.
The latest on a dangerous recovery after a deadly day. After 3 Tennessee lawmakers joined gun control protests, their opponents fired 2 of them, but not the third.
We called for you all to ban assault weapons, and you respond with an assault on democracy.
At the tournament, soaked in tradition, Saudi Arabia-funded golfers bring new waves.
It could legitimize the LIV Golf Tournament. It's really fascinating to see who performs well.
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Hundreds of thousands of people are still in the dark tonight after that powerful and prolonged ice storm pummeled Quebec. These scenes are visible throughout the province. At one point, the damage leaving more than 1 million people without electricity. It's now all hands on deck to work to get the situation under control. We're also learning of one death tonight. The victim, a man trying to clean up the debris. One reason why Quebec's premier is urging caution in the days ahead. Alison Northcott has the latest details.
The heavy ice pulled down trees, crushing cars and damaging homes.
And it broke from everywhere, and you can see up there were 2 big branches.
Mark Lazar spent the day clearing huge branches from his property.
I thought a bomb went off. I thought something, for a second, I thought it was even an earthquake. The whole house shook.
Power lines and branches also snapping under the pressure. The premier confirmed one man was killed when a branch fell on top of him.
Be careful, especially when there's some electricity around or trees around. So be careful, everybody, be patient.
More than 1 million customers lost power, about half in Montreal.
That was a big honking tree. It hit the balcony up above, and we all heard it. The building shook.
Huge boom, and came out just to see this absolute carnage.
Just front here.
A close call for Jean-Guy Tremblay, whose car was hit by a falling tree.
I heard a noise. It was, other tree was crashing. I just jumped and scratched the mirror of my car.
So it just missed you?
Yeah.
A major cleanup is underway with more than 1,000 hydro workers deployed.
Everybody at the city's been, and Hydro-Quebec have been working really hard since this morning to clear the streets, the main streets first, then it will be the local streets.
And it's important that people do what we always do in times of difficulty. Neighbors will be there for neighbors. People will help out and support.
This all started with a messy mix of weather.
We saw in Montreal 20 hours of freezing rain and 40 millimeters of ice pellets and freezing rain. Boy, I think it made people remember the ice storm of 25 years ago.
But that 1998 storm was different. It damaged the transmission network, which caused widespread, weeks-long outages. This time, there's a big mess with damage like this across the city, but Hydro-Quebec says it hopes to restore power to most people within hours or days.
Still, already some have been running out of key supplies.
This is my 5th gas station, and I cannot find any gas, so I don't know what I'm doing now.
With temperatures set to drop, municipalities have set up warming centers for people who need them as they wait for power to be restored. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Now, Ottawa is also in cleanup mode after being hit with hours of freezing rain.
Yesterday, we experienced one of the most devastating ice storms since 1998.
As in Quebec, downed trees and power lines littered city streets. During the worst of it, about 270,000 customers were affected by power outages. That number's dropped significantly. But Hydro Ottawa says some people will be without electricity for several days. Developing late in the United States tonight, Republicans in the Tennessee legislature have voted to remove from their seats 2 of 3 Democrats who protested in support of gun control. As Paul Hunter explains, this is raising new questions about the state of U.S. politics, not only because of their offense, breaching decorum, but also because the 2 removed are black, the one not removed, white.
For the 3 Democrat lawmakers facing expulsion, booming and desperate support as they walked into the House chamber. All week there'd been fury in Nashville and the demand for action on gun laws. Ever since that horrifying school shooting in Nashville late last month, when 3 children were among 6 killed by a former student with assault-style weaponry. When demonstrators immediately took their anger on gun laws to the state capitol building March 30th, those 3 Democrats took to the floor of the House chamber and joined in, chanting with them. Tennessee's Republican-controlled legislature chose to not only block action on gun laws, but focused on those Democrats.
The world is watching.
And just before the vote to expel the first of the 3 for disrupting the chamber, this rebuke.
We called for you all to ban assault weapons, and you respond with an assault on democracy.
But minutes later, what some are now calling a political lynching.
Right, we are voting on House Resolution 65. Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Aye, 72, 25 nays.
Entirely down party lines, it wasn't even close.
Expelled from the House of Representatives.
Then a twist. The second Democrat, a white woman, survived her vote, raising another concern that race is a subtext in this.
The state of Tennessee.
The third Democrat, another black man, was then expelled.
We are still here and we will never quit.
Out of order.
All of it laying bare yet again the deep political divide, the fierce split on guns, and the chasm on race in this country, all seemingly deepening, the sides digging in, resolving none of it. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Another sign of rising tensions in the Middle East, with Israel launching airstrikes into Gaza. Those are at least the 2 loud explosions that were heard in Gaza. Israeli forces reportedly targeted an anti-aircraft missile launcher. This comes after rockets were fired from Lebanon into Israel and following 2 raids in Jerusalem by Israeli police on one of the holiest sites for people of both Muslim and Jewish faith. Now, the economic forecast for Canada may remain uncertain, but the job market again showed surprisingly strong numbers. 35,000 new jobs were added last month, almost 3 times more than expected. And for the 4th straight month, unemployment remained at a near record low of 5%. Nisha Patel breaks down what this means for your wallet.
This Toronto hiring fair is packed, and for job seekers, optimism is in the air.
I would like to, in a bank, in a restaurant, anything.
I got resumes to customer service positions. That's what I'm aiming for.
I have offer from 2 to 3 hospitality sectors.
The economy has added jobs for 7 months in a row, a total of 383,000 since September. Hotels and restaurants still have huge vacancies.
People are traveling again, and we're starting to hire some more people.
And in a labor market that remains tight, there's fierce competition for workers.
We did do some changes to benefits. We did do some increased wages in some of the areas.
The latest numbers show as employers kept hiring, wages climbed 5.3% in March compared to the year before. With inflation at 5.2%, paychecks are finally keeping up.
For a lot of employers, they've been having trouble finding workers. And what do? You essentially bid up your offer, and that tends to drive wages up.
While that's good news for workers, economists say the central bank is in a tricky position.
We're in this kind of bizarre world where, sometimes the good news is not so good news for the Bank of Canada.
The Bank of Canada raised interest rates to slow the economy and bring down inflation. But rising wages tend to do the opposite. So amid strong job gains and steady growth, the economy continues to defy expectations.
The economy has proven to be very resilient. So you know what? They have a fighting chance of a soft landing or no landing as well, too.
Experts say this latest jobs report isn't likely to change the central bank's plan, pausing interest rate hikes for now to assess the impact on the economy. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
We have an update now on a story we brought you last night. 2 Canadian women newly repatriated from Syrian detention camps have been arrested by the RCMP. They were part of a group of 14 Canadian women and children arriving from Syria today. Their lawyer says the Crown is seeking a terrorism peace bond against the pair, which would place them under certain restrictions for up to a year. Police say there is no evidence of foul play with respect to the body found in a Winnipeg area landfill earlier this week.
She was actually observed to climb into the bin on her own. I don't know why Linda chose to attend that bin. You know, hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about that as time goes on. But we're satisfied that this is not a homicide.
Police say they have evidence Linda Beardy climbed into a dumpster and remained there for 3 hours until a garbage truck took the contents away. Beardy is the second Indigenous woman to be found at the Brady landfill since last May. The first, Rebecca Contois, is believed to be one of 4 victims of an alleged serial killer. Turning to Vancouver now, where police continue work to clear a long-running downtown encampment. Dozens of people were removed in yesterday's first phase, but some came back today. Here's Susanna Da Silva on where things stand tonight.
There are fewer tents on East Hastings Street, but a day after it was mostly cleared out, it's far from empty.
Well, I want to go to work, I want to do everything too, but can't do that because we can't get a place to live.
This push began 1 block down from where it left off Wednesday. Now it was John Henry's turn to move.
It's just the dance. It's bullshit.
Cressy Poirier had managed to leave a few belongings, but with the upheaval, new stress.
I lost my cell phone yesterday, so I don't know. Trying to look for it while I'm doing this, but the mess is getting bigger, so I'm just hoping I didn't throw it out.
He came back when the rain started, but this time he says he's been told nothing can be left behind.
It's not like they didn't warn us or tell us or ask us. I know it sucks, it really does, because, I mean, look at the weather, right? A lot of people lost everything they had yesterday.
The city says 36 people were moved off the streets Wednesday. 8 were placed in shelters. As for the rest, some went around the corner, in the alleys, or a few blocks away. City officials say the move is a matter of public safety.
When you have an explosion or a fire in a park, that is a travesty in itself, and many injuries and deaths have occurred because of that. But when we see them against building, it adds a whole other complexity and danger and risk.
Others say the focus should be on housing.
It's about $20,000 a year to house someone in supportive housing. It's about $120,000 a year to rely on policing or emergency rooms or shelters.
Well, who can I talk to? Go talk to this person. So you go there and then, no, you got to go over here. So I've been down here.
Christine has been in Vancouver since December, trying to get her son and his partner housing. Finally, they'll have something May 1st.
And I looked really hard. There's nothing. So I don't know where they're sending them. I don't know why. I don't know.
Susie, there's so much sadness, so much frustration there. What is the situation there tonight?
Well, that really does continue. I think there was more frustration, more anger, I think, that we felt here today. Obviously, the rain does not help anything. It makes everything more difficult, puts everyone more on edge, but there's also a bit of a sense of resignation from some. Many here have been moved a number of times over recent months, but they haven't seen the city moving in the scale that they saw yesterday and then again today. So some of them are realizing they do really have to move on, find a different place to go. At the same time, you can see behind me tents here that have already moved back in again tonight, streets that were cleared, and people say despite the hundreds of housing units that are supposed to be available in the coming months, as of right now, they have nowhere else to go. Adrian?
All right, Susanna Da Silva in Vancouver tonight. Thank you. Tonight, the community of Humboldt, Saskatchewan marked the tragedy that ended the lives of 16 people and transformed the lives of many more. The devastating Humboldt Broncos bus crash was exactly 5 years ago. The church bells rang in the town at 4:50 p.m., the moment that in 2018 a truck blew through an intersection, colliding with the hockey team's bus. The sudden loss of so many young lives brought a lot of attention to the trucking industry and safety on Canada's roads. Sam Sampson takes a hard look at what's been done to prevent a similar tragedy from happening again.
Carol Bronze knows her limits. When she watches Humboldt hockey, she sits on this side of the ice.
I don't like seeing the players' bench.
Why not?
Because she's not there.
Her daughter Dana was the athletic therapist for the Humboldt Broncos in 2018. The whole team was driving to an April playoff game when their bus crashed into a semi that ran a stop sign. 16 people died. The novice semi-driver, Jaskirat Singh Sidhu, had 3 weeks of training and supervision. The tragedy forced trucking standards into the spotlight.
Would you say the roads are any safer now than they were in 2018?
That's the tough one. I'd have to say they're not much safer, if at all.
At the time, only Ontario required drivers to take training before getting a license. That still isn't the case everywhere. Today, 6 jurisdictions require training before testing. 5 tell CBC training will be mandatory. New Brunswick is looking into it. Nunavut has optional training, but trucking licenses there aren't valid anywhere else. Every area in Canada has entry-level training available. The training was standardized in 2021, but there are still huge differences across the country.
I hired somebody from a different province. He was trained to be an instructor. He was worse than one of the students that I had.
But more rules means more time and costs to fill Canada's driver shortage. Without enough inspectors, advocates worry shady schools cut corners to fill labor gaps.
There has to be a fear of getting caught if you're breaking rules and regulations, and there just isn't enough of that fear out there right now.
You can have prayers and thoughts all you want, but unless you're willing to do something to back it up. I know that sounds very cynical, but it's the truth.
Bronze's mission to make roads safer keeps her going on her hardest days, like next month, when she'll mark Dana's 30th birthday without her daughter. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Humboldt, Saskatchewan.
Canada has become the first country to come out with national standards when it comes to managing chronic pain in children. Erin Collins looks at what those standards mean for doctors and parents.
Are you tired today?
Yeah. A trip to the doctor. Daunting for anyone, but for kids, it can be especially painful.
Oh yeah, 1 raisin, 2, 3. Oh, there's at least 10 in there.
Well, don't let the giggles fool you. Visits from a doctor weren't always fun for the Cinnamon family. 3-year-old Natalie endured days of painful tests and surgeries after being born.
Oh, it was very, very difficult. Even like if you think of a tiny newborn infant, even getting anything done is quite alarming.
From distraction to medication, mitigating that pain for kids, a focus for pediatricians.
To manage children in pain is not actually difficult if you know what the tools are and you have access to them.
This document, an important new tool, a framework for treating Canadian kids in pain, rolling out this month.
This is the first national health standard for pediatric pain management, which means it's the first in the world.
As recently as the 80s, newborns in Canada were thought not to feel pain, even operated on without anesthetic. Well, that's changed, but this researcher says improvements are still needed.
Pain care for kids in Canada is woefully out of date, the same way it is in many places in the world, but we know how to change it. And so this standard is really intended to bring current practices in Canadian hospitals in line with what we already know works.
But not all sick kids are treated equally. The report says that when it comes to pain management, poorer and racialized kids often suffer more.
You cannot take out socioeconomics, race from the equation. You know, an intersectional approach requires that we acknowledge that these factors influence all outcomes.
Still, creating a standard for mitigating kids' pain does make Canada a leader. But following up will be key, making sure this new framework is actually implemented. Erin Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
The Masters are underway and many eyes are on one group of golfers.
There's a lot of chatter about these guys don't play real golf, these guys don't play real golf courses.
Here's Mickelson.
The Saudi-backed players stirring controversy on the greens. A call to ban polls ahead of elections, but would that inspire more people to vote? Rosie and the Ad Issue panel are here. And birds migrating north are bringing along a deadly disease.
If you're your average person and your average pet owner, the risk to them and their animal is quite low. Now, that said, it's not zero.
What you can do to protect your pets. We're back in 2. Well, the traditional ceremonial tee-offs from golfing greats officially opened the Masters today. The prestigious tournament is marking its 87th year. A record 4 Canadians are competing for the coveted green jacket. But this year, the historic tournament is dealing with a new controversy. Players from an organization bankrolled by Saudi Arabia are competing. As Thomas Daigle explains, that has led critics to accuse the tournament of sports washing.
Fantastic. With long drives and picture-perfect putts, the Masters is back, this time bringing animosity, usually unseen in what was long known as a gentleman's game.
I have no problem with any of them. Just please do not bash a tour that I have 43 years invested in. It bothers the hell out of me.
That's a warning to 18 players, part of the upstart Live Golf Series, all competing at this year's Masters. Among them, Phil Mickelson, wearing a cap for the world to see, showing his Live Golf team's logo.
I think we need to be up there. I think there's a lot of chatter about these guys don't play real golf, these guys don't play real golf courses.
Promoted as a flashier alternative to the PGA Tour, Live Golf guarantees players massive paychecks, bankrolled by Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. Critics call it sports washing, like the Olympics in China or the Men's World Cup in Qatar, used to soften the image of an autocratic regime. Now, some of that same criticism is spilling over to the Masters.
If 1 or 2 or 3 of the Live golfers are in contention, it could legitimize the Live Golf Tour. That's why it's really fascinating to see who performs well.
In Toronto, at a course newly reopened for the season, the Pro Tour drama is providing fodder between holes.
Competition's good, and they have good players too.
If anything, this year's Masters might have more intrigue and more prestige. Now you have 2 competing professional leagues.
When Brooks Koepka wrapped up the first round tied for the lead, broadcasters pointedly avoided mentioning he's with Liv.
65 for Brooks Koepka, who won 4 majors in less than 2 years.
6 previous Masters champions quit the PGA for Liv. It will be history if a rebel golfer wins come Sunday. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Buckingham Palace says it will cooperate with a study examining the British monarchy's ties to slavery. The palace says King Charles supports the decision and says researchers will be given full access to the royal archives. A recent report by The Guardian featured a document showing a historical connection to a slave trading company. The findings are expected to be released in 2026. Scientists are warning spring bird migration is giving a new avian flu strain a chance to spread. The risk is to other animals, potentially your pets. Lauren Pelly breaks it down for us.
The birds are back in town. Millions of geese, sandpipers, and ducks all flying back north this spring. And a deadly form of avian flu is along for the ride.
I'm definitely more concerned now than I was 10 years ago.
This scientist says migratory birds are at a high risk for catching the virus that has exploded globally, giving it even more opportunities to evolve.
What gets brought back with spring migration could be different again, and we don't know.
Those migration routes span North America from coast to coast, allowing avian flu to spread from birds to all kinds of other species, including sea lions, foxes, mink, and occasionally humans. One Canadian study found the virus circulating in the current outbreak has mutations that may favor adaptation to mammals.
If you're your average person and your average pet owner, the risk to them and their animal is quite low. Now, that said, it's not zero.
Just this week, federal officials announced a dog that died in Ontario tested positive for the virus. Veterinarian Scott Weiss says people shouldn't panic about their pets, but he does suggest avoiding interactions with wildlife in the months ahead.
If there are 100 geese out in a park, maybe don't let your dog go up and get close to them because the geese will bark back.
Members of the public can also report any sightings of dead or dying birds to Canada's Environment and Climate Change Department.
And that will actually help us predict where we need to be paying attention throughout the summer and the spring as we kind of ramp up to respond to what we're seeing on the ground.
The hope is that by now, a growing number of birds may have built up immunity to the virus. But with so many traveling all at once, scientists are bracing for a challenging stretch ahead. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
And of course, after the break, Rosie's here with that issue. Hey, Rosie.
Hi, Adrian. Tonight we're going to talk about the dynamic between Quebec Premier François Legault and the Prime Minister. After closing Roxham Road, securing a bunch of jobs for Quebec, the relationship between the Premier and the PM seems to be on the upswing. What could that mean for the Liberals and the Conservatives? Chantal, Althea, and Andrew join me to talk about that and more. Hi there, I'm Rosemary Barton. Here's what's at issue this week.
Merci, Justin. Merci beaucoup.
That thank you from Quebec Premier François Legault was one of many he has offered to the Prime Minister of late. A promise of billions of dollars to keep the Davie shipyard going in this case. 2 days later, the two were at each other's side again to respond to the ice storm in the province. Gone for now are the complaints, replaced by enthusiastic cooperation. So what could this dynamic mean for the Liberals going forward? How might it affect the Conservatives as they try to gain ground in Quebec? Let's bring everybody in. Chantal Hébert, Althea Raj, and Andrew Coyne. Good to see you all. I should say that Campbell Clark, Andrew's colleague, wrote about this today, but Chantal was emailing me about it yesterday to say, I'm watching this and I'm wondering what's going on. So when I put to a Liberal today, is this the beginning of a bromance? I was warned to not call it that and not say that's what's happening now. But what is happening here, Chantal? You think?
And I did hook you on that topic by using bromance,
yes,
but I put it. I did not use it as anything other than a quote. A number of things are happening. I think none of them are good for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. For one, clearly Justin Trudeau is with methodically taking issues off the table that could become the core of a Quebec platform for the Conservatives in the next campaign. Roxham Road and the issue of the third safe country agreement. Agreement on how to wed the Quebec Language Law and the Official Languages Act. And a breakthrough for Davie, the big shipyard, that will now compete with 2 other shipyards for major contracts. Those are all issues that Conservatives have campaigned on in Quebec in the past 2-3 campaigns. But in the bigger picture, and why I think it really doesn't bode well for the Conservatives, is that what François Legault is doing at this point is basically doing a Doug Ford. He is stealing a page out of Ontario Premier Doug Ford's book of getting along with Justin Trudeau to get stuff in exchange. And I note that both premiers, rather important premiers, have not been rushing to meet with Pierre Poilievre since he became Conservative leader. So I don't think it's just Legault taking advantage. I think it's Legault and his pal Ford thinking we're probably getting a better deal from Trudeau than we would ever get from Pierre Poilievre, so let's dance with him.
Pierre Poilievre was in Quebec this week as well. He was in Saguenay, I believe. But you're right. I mean, he wasn't near Legault, but he also doesn't have billions of dollars to give to Legault. So, Andrew, is this sort of just a fair weather sentiment until something else happens that Quebec needs to complain about?
Undoubtedly, but for now they're going to let it ride. But it's not only Quebec. The government has been stuck behind, the Liberals have been stuck behind the Conservatives by 5 or 6 percentage points for months now, and it's pretty clear that the decisions have been made to spend and pander their way out of it. So we've got the billions that was given out to the provinces allegedly for health care to keep them quiet. We've got the dental care plan with the NDP. We've got the billions of dollars in industrial subsidies, a lot of which will go to central Canada. So you've got premiers beaming about that, but also business representatives. And in Quebec in particular, as Chantal mentioned, you know, they've basically thrown the asylum seekers under the bus with the Safe Third Country Agreement business. They've thrown the English community in Quebec under the bus with the, you know, quiescence on Bill 96 and the new stuff in Bill C-13, the federal bill. We'll see if they ever do anything on Bill 21, but basically the religious minorities are so far are cooling their heels. So there's a lot of collateral damage that goes with that, but certainly from the government standpoint, yeah, you throw out a lot of money like that, you don't do any, don't get in their face on any of the difficult issues, of course you're going to buy a lot of thank yous and a lot of smiles. I'm surprised that you know, Legault didn't tip him in the bargain. You know, isn't that what you do when you get good service?
Althea, then Chantal, yeah.
Well, I guess, like my colleagues, I would say this is not a bromance. This is the Premier discovering and the Prime Minister discovering that federal money buys you a lot of friends if you're willing to dole it out. I think, though, we will notice if there is a change in tone with the relationship with Legault if the Prime Minister keeps his mouth shut. And one thing that I noticed during that press conference earlier this week was there was a very pointed question about a Quebec issue that I don't think has gotten a lot of play in English Canada, but it was about two high schools in Laval, north of Montreal, who had set aside a prayer room for Muslim teenagers to pray in, mostly because they were praying in stairwells and they were causing congestion issues. So they gave them a room. And the education minister happened to be at the press conference with the premier when the Davies announcement was done. And he was asked, well, do you not think that this contravenes Bill 21? And Bernard Trinville said he was very preoccupied with the situation. And he said school in Quebec is secular and it will remain. And the day later, he came out and he announced that while he, this is his words, cannot ban prayer, he would ban prayer rooms. But the Prime Minister stood next to Mr. Trinville as he said that, and he said nothing. And it's that type of silence that is going to indicate whether or not the Liberals are changing their tune when it comes to Quebec.
Chantal.
A couple of points on Pierre Poilievre being in Quebec, not for the first time, but not being anywhere near François Legault. You need to compare comparables. So both Andrew Scheer and Aaron O'Toole met François Legault very early on in their tenure as leader. It's not typical that this has never taken place, and it does speak to a lack of interest from the Premier. On the issues that Andrew describes, as he describes them, the fact is that those were all stance that the Conservatives also campaigned on in the last two campaigns. Right. So it's not as if Justin Trudeau is suddenly breaking out of the pack by making all those concessions. Basically, Aaron O'Toole came to Quebec in the last campaign and promised all these things. Yeah. So there is no, in the play for votes, it basically leaves Poilievre with very little to campaign on since he'd already conceded all those points to Quebec. But I also think that remember the resistance, quote unquote, of Premier Ford and others lining up behind Andrew Scheer to campaign against Justin Trudeau. We are in a completely different era at this point. It's not just François Legault, and I suspect when I look at what happened in Ontario, Premier Ford told his Conservatives not to go out and campaign in the federal by-election in Mississauga. You are basically getting a sense that some premiers, most premiers, are telling themselves, we're not sure we want to do business with the Conservative Party under Pierre Poilievre, and that is going to be a problem.
Yeah,
Andrew.
I think that will depend on the course of the polls. If I mean, I'm not saying this will happen, but if the Conservatives were to build on their lead, at some point I think premiers would see it in their advantage to try to curry favor with what would seem to be, at that point, the next government. But obviously a lot can happen between now and then. But certainly Chantal's right that for Conservatives, large C Conservatives, no matter, I mean, the lesson of history on this, with one or maybe one and a half exceptions, is you can pander all you want to Quebec nationalists, it's still not going to work for you. And so I think he should start to think about this pretty seriously, that the Liberals can always stay a little bit ahead of you. They don't need to, you know, the English minority in Quebec's got nowhere else to go. What was shown under Stephen Harper is if you are competitive enough in Ontario, and you win enough seats in Ontario and in the West, you can put together a governing majority. You don't need a lot of seats in Quebec, but Conservatives always seem to swing for the fences, hoping against hope that if they just make one more extravagant promise, they can turn the tide in Quebec. It's not going to happen for them.
Last 30 seconds to you, Althea.
Well, I don't know if it's not going to work for them. I think it's too early to tell, and local circumstances might determine a lot of that. But I do think that this is really just about money. I mean, the federal government is willing to spend billions of dollars on all types of subsidies, and the provincial premiers realize that they can have a piece of the pie, and they're just sticking their hand out. And Justin Trudeau is happy to give it to them, and it's buying local, like Conservative MPs have been shut on this. I mean, Mr. Poilievre is basically not criticizing the federal largesse that is going out the door. So it's absolutely no surprise that the premiers are courting favor with the federal government and being very complimentary, because why wouldn't you be?
Okay, we're going to take a short break here. Thank you all. We'll be back with another round of At Issue. After a record low voter turnout, Ontario's chief electoral officer is calling for an end to polls in the final stretch of the campaign. Good idea or not so much? That's next on The National. Welcome back to another round of At Issue. After a record low voter turnout, the Ontario election officer is pushing for an end to polls in the final weeks of an election. The move is intended to increase voter turnout after a record low of 43% in Ontario's last election. The report found that many lost interest in the election after early polls showed one-sided results. So, should polls be banned in those last 2 weeks of a campaign? Could it increase voter turnout? Should it be considered federally? Let's bring back everyone. Chantal, Andrew, and Althea. Andrew, why don't you start us off on this? I would think that information is good for voters, but I guess the chief electoral officer in Ontario seems to think that this sways voters too much, or at least tells them, oh, your vote doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this idea comes up every now and then. I recall people talking about it in the past, and they said, oh, there's a bandwagon effect. If one party's ahead, people will go and rush to vote for that party because they're ahead. Now we're hearing that it's a reverse bandwagon effect. People see that one party's ahead and they stay home. Whether that has that impact or not, and I think there's a lot of debate about it, the point is that's democracy. You know, people in a democracy get to vote for whatever party they want, for whatever reason they want. It's not that you get to vote for the reasons that your betters think are appropriate. It means you get to vote for any reason with any information that's lawfully obtained that you find useful. So if people find it useful to vote depending, or not to vote depending on what the polls are telling, that's their business, not ours.
But if it's dissuading them from voting at all, Althea, does it need to be considered? It's one thing to, as Andrew says, you get to decide how you vote and what the decision is based on. But if it's causing you to not even bother to show up, should it be considered?
So my gut instinct is no. I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of denying people information. I can understand the chief electoral officer's point. Like, you can think that if the surveys hadn't suggested back in 2016 that Hillary Clinton was going to win in a landslide, that more people would have gone out to the polls, possibly. At the same time, though, to Andrew's point, it's possible that if the polls had not shown an NDP swing in the 2011 election, that Bloc Québécois and Liberal voters in Quebec wouldn't have decided to give the NDP a second look, or perhaps Liberals would not have voted for Harper and the Conservatives in 2011, fearing an NDP government. So I just feel like, first of all, it's a bad idea to deny people information. It's also not feasible. Like, how are you practically going to ban this? And third, what would it say if the government is preventing you from having access to public opinion polling? It's just so wrong on so many levels that I'm surprised it made its way into what one assumes is a heavily edited and vetted report.
Chantal.
So keeping people in the dark about the state of play is going to make them want to go out and vote. No, that's an interesting proposition. Is it possible that people decided not to go out to vote because they felt that neither the NDP or the Liberals were offering something that they believed was worth coming out for and fighting for? Absolutely. By their own admission, those two parties will tell you that they did not do a good campaign. But do polls impact on the outcome of votes? Yes, I'll give you just one example. A week before the last Quebec referendum, the yes side for sovereignty was winning polls came out that showed that. A number of Quebec voters who just wanted to send a message looked at the numbers and said, gee, that's not really what we want to do with our vote. And in the end, it was a narrow no. So yes, voters are entitled to all the information, including the possible consequences of their vote, before they cast a ballot. Keeping them in the dark, one is treating them like kids. It's very paternalistic. And two, I don't believe it's going to increase turnout.
And just remember, you know, they might be banning the publication of polls. They wouldn't be banning the taking of polls. So all the people, all the insiders would all have their polls at their command, would all have the information at their fingertips. The only people who would be kept out of the dark would be the voters.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, Althea, should the media spend less time talking about polls during an election? Would that help with voter turnout?
I don't know that it would help with voter turnout, because I think polls can be a motivator for voter turnout. I think Chantal has given us a great example of that. Do we have a responsibility to cover polls in a more responsive way, a responsible way? Absolutely. Should we be talking more about the issues that are actually at stake? Yes, absolutely. But the fact is, you know, now we can measure audiences, and audiences like polls and they click on them, and that's why we write about them so often.
So, take, for instance, the debate, which I find even crazier than the coverage of polls, about who won the leader debate.
Yes.
And then you've got
which I make you guys weigh in on, to be fair.
So how would we really know? We're not in people's minds, but it is spun to death. I'm happy enough to have the reality check of a poll 3 days later to show me who actually won the debate and what impact it's going to have on the campaign. But without that, you are just free to have spin left, right, and center. I don't doubt my judgment, but I think my judgment on who wins leaders debate leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, I don't know about that. Andrew, what about the media's role in how they present polls during elections?
Yeah, I mean, they should be reported upon, but they should be reported upon a lot less. We do far too much generally coverage of the campaign rather than the election, far too much about who's ahead and who's behind rather than what are they going to do if they get into power. So I think adjusting the mix, and certainly I don't think, one thing I think is we should not report on our own polls. When media commission polls, they have a direct incentive to hype them up, whether they're actually significant or not. It's really only the average of the polls. One last point is, you know, turnout is absolutely a serious issue. And there's lots of things that are playing that. But if we were really serious about turnout, we'd make voting mandatory. When Australia did it, they went from 58% to 95%, and they've stayed there ever since.
Yeah. Chantal.
I'm not sure anyone is going to be brave enough to make voting mandatory. And it's a completely different discussion. Yes. But I don't think it's either you ban polls or you make voting mandatory. Banning polls, I have not found very many people who actually cover elections or who report on them, or even parties to say, yeah, let's just keep the public from finding out about polls. I think the idea should not even be on the table.
Okay, got to leave it there. Thank you. That was a good discussion. Appreciate it. I'll send things back now to Adrienne, and she is in Toronto.
Thank you, Rosie. Next, a big feat by a young boy. An Ottawa kid memorizes the entire Qur'an.
I was so happy that I just jumped up and down. I actually forgot to hug my own teacher.
How he did it, all by the age of 10, in our moment. In this now viral moment from an Algerian mosque, the Imam, leading nightly Ramadan prayers, clearly had a curious listener. The cat wandered around a bit, then jumped right onto him. Unruffled, the prayers went on, even as that cat climbed up, just maybe to get a better spot to take it all in. Well, there's no cat on his shoulder, but Zakaria Mustafa can also recite a prayer with focus. Incredibly, he has memorized the entire Qur'an, front to back, everything in between. So what's more, he learned all 6,236 verses by the age of 10. Now he's teaching it to others. His achievement is our moment.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
But when I was 6, I really started actually memorizing the Quran for reals. And by 10, alhamdulillah, I finished. The Quran has about 604 pages. When you finish memorizing the Quran, you get a title called a hafid. And in this context, it means that you're guarding the Quran from being lost. For me, it felt like a huge boulder was lifted from my back. I was so happy that I just jumped up and down. My mom and dad were the most happy people I've ever seen in my life. And my friends were really happy for me also. They wanted to be like me, actually.
ونحشرهم يوم القيامة على وجوههم عميا وبكما وصما.
Okay, Zakaria, 300, page 300.
ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل.
Next page.
I got something called an ijaza, which is like a certificate for thoroughly memorizing the Quran. I have 2 of them now, and I'm getting a 3rd one soon, inshallah.
Mabruk, Zakaria. Anyone who has to memorize more than a few lines knows how difficult it is. He says it was really tiring. Pace yourself, young man. You have a huge future ahead. That is a national for April the 6th. Thank you for being with us. Have a good night.